So this is a quick overview of what we did to put together our raised planters in our backyard. We first went to Google Docs, which has a drawing program, and we put together this outline of the area in our backyard where we want to put the raised planters. We got a window on the top, a fence along the left and on the bottom, and we basically used the grids to make measurements of how big these areas were. Took a few different designs and placed them there, thought about ideas, is there enough room to walk in, walk around? And what we finally decided on was the design you see here, which basically gives you, three different little planting areas with room to go in between and walk around the entire edge, especially with that little jutting out part. So after we got this design, we went ahead and printed out the diagram, marked it up with measurements, and tried to figure out exactly how do we get all these boards cut and what kind of boards do we need and how long. So we said, okay, well, we need this many 5 foots, this many 4 foot, this many 3 foot. And then based on that, we went ahead and said, okay, well, if we take a 12 foot and we cut it into quarters, so a bunch of iterations of math and figuring out what we actually had to buy at Home Depot. And so we got a final shopping list. So I took that shopping list to Home Depot, filled up a 1983 Volvo station wagon full of lumber, just packed it in as much as I could get. So we filled that sucker up with tons of lumber, took it out in the backyard, basically laid it over the ground, and covered it in boiled linseed oil. So this is a way to preserve the wood without leaching caustic chemicals into the soil. So that you could use Thompson's water seal or whatever, but you may end up, suffering ill effects supposedly. So this is a very inert, it's a very safe thing to cover your boards with to make them more preserved, less susceptible to rot. And then we took them, glued things together, screwed everything together actually. And here is an example of a half finished one. So that the 2 sets of boards aren't in there, but we have a brace in the center just to support it because it could be a lot of weight from the soil pushing things out. And finally, when we were done, we had our whole design set up with our 5 different planters. All the linseed oil, these things were greasy as ever, so the stuff doesn't really soak in, and dry like a normal sealer. But we, oiled them all up, screwed everything together, had no leftover pieces, which is always a good thing when you're dealing with any kind of project. And then you can see we flipped the board over so there's that brace in there in the event that the soil tries to push out the edges of the boards to make them bow. And so here is our final product. The soil is imaginary at this point, so I'll be sure to send an update.